friends, especially in the Korean community. And it's opportunities such as these and tonight that we can all get together that emboldens our Korean community and it strengthens our unified voice together. So that being said, if we could please rise and sing our Korean national anthem, and it'll be followed promptly by the American national anthem. If you guys could please stand. Next, we have our very own Consul General, Kim, from our Korean Consulate in Atlanta, to give his opening remarks for tonight's ceremony.
여러분 반갑습니다. Good evening. I'm so happy to see you all once again. I welcome you all on the opening of the night for Korean American Next Generation. First of all, I just want to say thank you for happily agreeing to volunteer as an MC. Tonight, we have wonderful special guests lined up tonight. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Sam Yoon, President of Council of Korean Americans, which is based in Washington, D.C. He flew into Atlanta from Washington, D.C. to attend this event. May I ask you to put your hands up together to welcome President Sam Yoon. And also I just want to say thank you to my friend, Joe Manguno, the former Seoul Bureau Chief of Wall Street Journal, and also Don Winfield of the American Jewish community. I just want to thank them for being here to share his insight, to share their insights and thoughts. Thank you so much. Of course, my special thanks go to the rest of the speakers, which include Ms. Jennifer Pearl and Krishna Kim, and then Yumi Kim for their participation. I just want to thank them all for their participation. This program is our second annual event. I want to ask you all for the objective of having this program. What is the objective of organizing this program? What you want to take away from this other than just exchanging a stack of business cards with your content? This is what I expect. First, I want to hear your voice. You have your voice, but to me, it's kind of soft and deep. I want it to be louder and louder, so everyone can hear your voice. 10 voices are louder than one voice. 100 voices are louder than 10 voices. It's quite obvious. We say that there are 100,000 Koreans or Korean Americans living in Ghana. Having said that, I want you all to unite as one. I want you to give one voice to any common issues that might affect Korean American community. If we can gather our voice, if we can present them in a unified manner, I'm confident that we can achieve more effectively than what we want to achieve. That is my privilege. Once again, I thank you all for being here. I look forward to working with you all, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Well, my name is Christina Kim, and I currently work as an attorney at the law firm of Malik & Associates. And I also serve as the current president of the Southern chapter of the Korean American Scholarship Foundation. Tonight, the Consulate General's office asked me to come and talk about my life, specifically the challenges that I had to overcome and what led to my career path and nonprofit work. I think the Consulate General's office asked me to speak at tonight's function because I am your typical immigrant, someone you can all relate to. You know, it is truly an honor to be standing here in front of you today, and it's awesome to see that so many of our leaders have come out. You know, I hope that the next few minutes will touch you in some way or at least be entertaining. I moved to the United States in 1993 at the age of 7, and 20 years later, I am a happy attorney who was blessed with the opportunity to work with some amazing nonprofit organizations. Today, I want to talk about how a few unexpected events served to be the silver lining of my life that has provided me with a firm stepping stone to enhancing my career. There is no set formula for a successful career, and trust me, I do not have the experience to tell you who is a success and who is failure. But what I do know is that there are 3 very important things, amongst others, that can help someone get closer to their goals and dreams. And fortunately for us, these 3 things should come naturally, given our identity as 1.5 generation immigrants. These 3 things are passion, risk-taking, and networking. First is passion. I don't know about you, but you know, my parents are those typical immigrants. They don't speak English very well at all. And many times I'll have to get on the phone to translate for them, or actually sometimes even pretend to be them to get things clear from them. I remember from like 11 years old when my voice was husky. It's still husky, but trust me, it was much more husky back then. And I sounded like a little boy. My mom said that there was a mistake on her credit card statement and had me call and get this corrected. The card rep said, "You're a girl?" I was so mad and I hated my mom for making me call this credit card company, but trust me, that wasn't the last time. Even today, in the middle of my meeting, I kept getting Kakao Talk messages from my mom saying, hey, I have a problem with the customer, can you please call me? And it's every day that I run into immigrants who need help adjusting to cultural and linguistic differences in this country. The obstacles that my parents and I have experienced help me understand and grow a passion for helping Korean Americans. And I am proud to say that I have recently surpassed $22 million in my career cases, and a good amount of this business came from the Korean community. I really love the fact that I can help the Korean community. You all know the challenges that can arise from a simple language barrier. My friends will tell you that I am the most impatient person there is. But when it comes to my clients, I can't be patient because I am passionate about helping the immigrants, and we all know that requires a lot of patience. And with the Korean population being over 100,000 in the Atlanta area, you have a market that you can serve. And as an immigrant, we all needed that extra patience ever since we were really young, from learning a new language to helping out our parents. Why not use your natural talent to help the community and get ahead in life? And trust me, I speak from first-hand experience when I say the Korean community is very strong. And when your passion helps to further strengthen the Korean community, your reward will come in the form of greater opportunities for success. And even if your passion does not necessarily fall within the Korean community, to have the greatest chance for success, you need to be passionate about what you're doing in order to be great at it. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, I encourage you to find something in which you are. It may not sound like the easiest path at the moment, but in the long run, the reward will be well worth the risk. And that brings me to my next topic, risk-taking. As a Korean American, I am sure that many of you have already taken risks in order to join mainstream America. When you first came to the United States, how scary was it to go talk to that blonde-haired girl or that dark-skinned boy? When you decided to get a job with the American government or a corporation, you took a risk in leaving your comfort zone and challenging yourself in mainstream America. We are natural risk takers. Some of you know that I started college and law school very early. I was only 19 when I started law school. But what many of you don't know is that I'm actually a high school dropout. No, I didn't have any drug problems and I did not have any violence problems, but I did have a problem that was unbearable, racism. Ever since I was a little girl, all I wanted to do was graduate as the valedictorian of my class and make that speech at graduation. I didn't care about going to an Ivy League school, didn't care about a brand new car. All I wanted to do was graduate as the valedictorian of my class and give that speech. And I was so happy when my final junior year report card showed that I was at the top of my class. I went to my principal to talk about my speech, and she looked at me and told me that I would not be making my speech because I'm not representative of the class. I understand you're a small city of Macon, Georgia, and there are many Asians, but why should that determine whether or not I get to make my speech? If the principal was this way, you can imagine what the counselors and what the teachers are like. I got out of there. I was so angry. I wanted to show my high school that I am a success. During college, there were semesters where I was taking 24 credit hours and working 30 to 35 hours at the mall every week. But I loved every moment of it because I wanted to make my risky move worth it. Now, although I no longer have a chip on my shoulder, and I still don't have my high school diploma, but what I learned is that you have to take risks to get further in life. And lastly, I would like to speak about networking, since that's why we are here. Networking can come in the form of so many ways. I mean, gosh, it could be as simple as meeting a stranger at a Starbucks and forming a business, a personal relationship that leads to other connections. While in law school, I joined a group called the PILSA, stands for Asian Pacific Islander Law Student Association, and later served as vice president and then president. While in office, we tracked together ideas to help our members get legal experience and serve the community. We decided to start attending Chamber of Commerce meetings and met many great businessmen and community leaders that way. One day I received a call from the general counsel of an international company called Hana Isol, and they wanted to meet me because they needed someone who spoke Korean and English. That led to an opportunity to work for a legal department of a company called Bimbos. They own Entenmann's, Sara Lee, Thomas Bagels, Ballpark, to name a few. Even before graduating from law school, I was able to work on a corporate merger and international contract deals worth millions. And thanks to these experiences, I had a job waiting for me when I decided to move back to Atlanta. Unfortunately, when the 2008 recession hit, I was laid off by my employer. And that was a very scary moment because I still had all these student loans that I was just thinking about constantly. Luckily, I had friends whom I had stayed in contact with over the years who helped me get contract jobs so that I could stay afloat. Talk about good friends. It's one of the best networks there is. The contract work was great, but I was ready to join a firm and learn under an experienced mentor. I attended a continuing legal education class and met a very nice gentleman. He sat next to me and we just started talking during our breaks. We shared stories. I told him how I was looking for a job. I thought he was just another new lawyer. I would have never guessed that he was one of the directors at the Georgia bar. He immediately set me up with a job interview at Malik & Associates. And wow, even till this day, all I can say is that it's amazing how one little connection can change your life. Given my background, it's not very difficult to have a heart for the Korean Americans who struggle every day to make a living, get a little ahead, and find happiness. As you're aware, I serve as the current president of the Korean American Scholarship Foundation, of the Southern Chapter, also known as KASF. I was initially forced to join KASF by a mentor, but now, over 5 years later, there are very few things that bring me more joy than seeing the smiles on the faces of our deserving students and proud parents. KASF was created nearly 50 years ago by a few immigrants who simply wanted to help Korean American students. Today, we are nearly $4 million strong. During a time period when desegregation in schools was still fairly new, can you imagine how much heart and how much passion it must have taken for these immigrants to start a foundation simply to help Korean American students? Now, I don't expect anyone here to wake up tomorrow and suddenly decide that they want to open a nonprofit organization. But what I would like to do is encourage all of you to bring out that passion, take a chance, learn about it from each other, and make a difference. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello everyone, I'm Yumi Kim, a professional ballet dancer with Atlanta Ballet. It's my great honor to be here and share my experience with all of you. As I focus on establishing my career as a ballet dancer, I didn't get many opportunities to meet other great Koreans like you who are in different fields. So I would like to thank the people who organized this event and invite me here today. The Korean government, Consul General Hee-bum Kim, including the Korean Consulate General in Atlanta, and especially the Deputy Consul General for their view. I strongly believe that building a social network among Koreans from various areas in the U.S. will form invaluable relationships for all of us. Before coming to the U.S. in 2006, I personally never imagined that I would live in the U.S. So please forgive my awkward English. This is the picture of Atlanta ballet dancers on our tour to China. We actually just got back yesterday. My job as a professional ballet dancer is somewhat unique. I started ballet when I was 7, and I have never looked back. It's difficult to make a living in any art, so I feel very grateful that every day I go to work doing something I'm truly passionate about. However, as a ballet dancer, my body is my instrument, and I have to constantly struggle against physical pain and injuries. Horn shoes may look beautiful, but after dancing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, my toes do not. The path to becoming a professional dancer is not easy physically or mentally. In terms of education, the US is quite different from Korea. In the US, many dancers start their career in their late teens. In Korea, a dancer's career begins only after they finish university due to the cultural priority on education. I'm unusual in the ballet world, having acquired both a bachelor's and a master's in 5 years before pursuing a dance career. Having a well-rounded education made me a more mature and intelligent dancer. Some people might think that ballet is all about physical training, but a dancer's mind is just as important when it comes to moving an audience and touching them deeply. After having stretched my mind in Korean university, it was time for me to further expand my horizon and learn more about global artistic trends beyond Korea. Although I always wanted to be a professional dancer, there were not many opportunities in Korea due to a limited number of ballet companies. And my body shape was not considered ideal for Korean company. Therefore, I didn't have much hope that I would make it as a dancer. And when I went on a casual vacation to New York City, I just happened to bring with me a leotard and a single pair of pony shoes. After spending some time looking around New York, I became eager to dance. I visited one ballet studio, and after a few classes, a teacher encouraged me to audition for a company in US. I was impressed with how US society highly appreciates one's potential and all the many opportunities available. My mother always said that chance favors only the prepared mind, and the fact that I came to New York prepared with point shoes and a hard work ethic eventually brought me great opportunities when I auditioned for Atlanta Ballet. Atlanta Ballet is the oldest ballet company in the US. It is a very special company. Contrary to common stereotypes about dancers, Atlanta Ballet is a very friendly environment where I can actively contribute as an artist. Some companies emphasize uniformity among dancers in terms of their body shape or movement technique, but Atlanta Ballet focuses on individual personality. John McFall, artistic director of Atlanta Ballet, told me, "I would rather you be a great artist than merely a great dancer. It's not about the body or technique. It's about communication with audiences and making their hearts move." Each dancer is encouraged to find one's own style, characteristics, and way to communicate with the audience. And this freedom has allowed me to thrive, though it did take time. In Korea, I knew only classical ballet vocabulary, and in Atlanta there was an emphasis on contemporary style that I had to quickly learn. Beyond that, I was 24, a relatively old age to begin a career, and it was a bit hard feeling like I was being left behind younger dancers. I didn't give up though, and soon I was being recognized, and I started to make a name for myself. You know, the most important lesson I have learned from my ballet training is patience. Patience throughout years of repetitive training trying to achieve, but never quite reach perfection. Patience when my body doesn't work as I wish it did. Patience when I work hard, but I still don't fit with a choreographer's subjective opinion. Patience and steady effort has brought me many opportunities to share my art with the world. The joy and satisfaction of dancing in front of thousands of people make all the challenges fade away. When I'm on stage, I feel alive, and all the years of sacrifice is worth it. Because of Elena Ballet's focus on diversity, I have been able to work on a daily basis with dancers from all over the world, which stretches myself artistically. I'm not bottled into one way of doing things. In addition, we collaborate with choreographers from various countries. Each person brings their unique background, training, and cultures with them. Being in such an environment naturally exposes us to the best of what each has to offer. Seeing other people's different artistic perspectives and forming relationships with them allowed me to see new things and better understand how people think and feel. Without my experience in Korea, my career wouldn't be possible. At the same time, if I was not flexible and open-minded, it wouldn't have been possible either. I'm a different person than when I left Korea. When I visited Korea after about 5 years in the US, I understood exactly how much I had changed. I'm more open-minded. I understand people better. But when I visited Korea, I had the feeling that I didn't belong to either Korea, the US, or anywhere else. Korea didn't feel like home anymore, but America was still oftentimes bewildering to me. The changes I went through while living in the US as a Korean made me stronger, and I felt like I had grown up, but I still felt isolated. In this way, I think that living as Korean American is not easy thing. However, a different way to think about it is that we are lucky. We get to experience Korean and American culture. There's no right or wrong between the two. I used to feel like the choices I've made in my life were causing me to miss out on something else. But I realized I am actually not losing out on anything. It is all about finding balance between the culture I was born to and the culture that I have adopted as much as it has adopted me. I'm proud as the only Korean in Elena Ballet to share my art with American audiences. It is a privilege to be able to do what I do. And this opportunity to share our knowledge from various areas will lead us to better share our knowledge, better communication, cooperation, and direction in our lives. As Korean Americans, I believe there is a lot we can do, rather than choosing one society to identify with, and by seeing our unique perspectives as a strength rather than a handicap. We will find a balance that will help Koreans and Korean Americans wherever they might live. I hope my experience as a Korean ballerina in the US are interesting to you, and that maybe you will see me on stage sometime. I appreciate your attention. Thank you so much. Sorry, can I?
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, I have shown always more than 1,000 people, but this speech made me more nervous.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Consul General Kim, for this invitation and for this event and Yanni for inviting me here. I like to talk not directly about my life experience. I want to talk a little bit about the Council of Korean Americans, but it's going to pick up on some of the themes that we just heard about opportunity and about not being accepted, as Christina and Yumi have just shared. But before I do that, I would love to do a quick little poll so I can kind of get to know you a little bit better since I'm the one from out of town. How many of you, by show of hands, were born outside the United States? Show of hands. Looks like roughly maybe half or even more. And how many of you born in the U.S.? A little less than half. Okay. For those of you who came to the States, were born outside and are here now, how many of you came over between 65 and 75? That's me, for some reason. Okay. 75 to 85. Show of hands. Okay. Where was I? 85 to 95. 95 to the present. That's interesting. So kind of it's a roughly proportional from 65 to now. And then anybody who came over before 1965, I don't want to date you. Okay, I don't want to be pointing out the. Okay, so that's good. The reason I asked that is because I just want to start by telling you a little bit about my story, just a little bit. I mean, my parents came to the States in 1970. I was 10 months old, and I guess that kind of makes me like 1.99 generation. I was effectively, raised here, but thinking about why we created Council of Korean Americans, I was thinking about my parents' decision to leave their country to come to this one. And I think for those of you who raised your hand who were born outside the U.S., I'm guessing for most of you it wasn't your decision. Maybe it was for some of you, but it was a decision that someone else made. Of course, so I think for many of us, your parents. And I think about the fact that my dad was 30, my mom was 25, they had just gotten married, just had me, and in 1970 decided, we're going to leave everything that we know. They were actually both the first in their families to leave their families behind. We know as Koreans how important family is. They were going to leave their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their aunts and uncles, grandparents, and come to a completely different place. A completely different place. At a time, I didn't have email, didn't have Kakao Talk, Skype. I mean, this is really leaving everything you know behind and going into a completely unknown place. That is courage. That is bravery. And when I think about that, I can only explain that decision in terms of the opportunity they saw here in America. Not just for themselves, but for us, for their children, and for our children. To start a new life, to carve out a new identity here in the States. They must have seen tremendous opportunity. And so, typical immigrant story, we heard one from Christina. We gotta, I felt pressure to make good on that opportunity, to honor their decision to come here and help us be successful. So, I can say at this point in my life, I'm pretty sure I made my parents proud. Maybe I should ask them. But I'm pretty sure I did pretty well in terms of doing well in school and having a meaningful career and standing where I stand before you today. So that is the Asian immigrant success story. And I'm going to guess that all of us in this room share in that story. In fact, what I wanted to tell you is that the Pew Research Center did a groundbreaking study last year called The Rise of Asian Americans. And this study said that Asian Americans in this country at this time actually have higher levels of income, higher levels of education than whites, blacks, and Hispanics. Asian Americans, the average Asian American, mind you, not saying every Asian American is of that level of success, but Asian Americans, on average, have higher levels of income and higher levels of education than any other racial group in America. That's where we are right now. And Korean Americans, by the way, within the Asian American community, also stand out. Korean Americans are second only to Indians in terms of achieving high levels of education, as in college degree or higher, bachelor's degrees or higher. And Korean Americans are number one by far in terms of owning their own business and being entrepreneurs. 1 out of every 5 Korean Americans makes their own income. We're independent. If we see a way to do something and create value economically, we go out and do it. Much more than other Asian ethnic groups. Overall, this is what the study said, if you can believe this. Asian Americans, more than the average American, are more satisfied with their lives and their financial conditions. They're more optimistic about the direction our country is headed in. They value hard work, parenthood, marriage, and career success than the average American. I'll share a couple statistics. If those CEOs, Fortune 500 CEOs, looked like America, then we should have 30 Asian Americans who are Fortune 500 CEOs and roughly 3 Korean American CEOs, if they look like America. What do we have? We have 8 Asian Americans, no Koreans. Let's take federal judgeships. These are the folks that wear the robes and kind of govern and decide the law in this country. 800 federal judgeships out there, from Supreme Court to Court of Appeals to District Court. Out of those 800, if it looked like America, we should have 48 Asian American judges. And roughly like 4 or 5 who are Korean American. How many do we have? We've got 19. And actually, it's more like we have 16 because 3 are still waiting to be confirmed by the Senate. How many Korean Americans? 1. That's where we are, federal judgeships. Now, lastly, let's take Congress. The U.S. House of Representatives. This is the governmental body that is supposed to represent the U.S. And you would think, if they look like America, we should have roughly 24, 25 congressmen or women who are Asian American. And we should have 6, because 6% of the country, 6 Asian American senators. What do we have? We have 10 members of Congress, 3 who were elected in this last term who are Asian American. We have 1 senator from Hawaii who's Asian American. We have 0 congressmen and 0 senators who are Korean American. That's our country. This has a lot to do why we formed the Council of Korean Americans. The mission of CKA, is to be a strong, clear voice on matters of importance to the Korean American community and to support our full participation in all aspects of American life, public sector, private sector. To say it in one word, there is a leadership gap between our potential, which I even see in this room, our potential as a community and the opportunities to lead. Wide gap. We have a long way to go. And that's something that does a disservice to this country, which is now our country, and to our own community. When we're not represented at these high levels, or even the state and local level, we can go on and on all night about that as well. But, as a national organization, looking at the national level, it's a problem. And I'll just end by sharing 3 quick examples of why we need a national organization of leaders and why we as CKA need you as well. I'm going to get to that by the end of the speech. But we need to solve that as a problem in order to honor the promise of America that our parents and our forefathers and foremothers came to this country for. But 3 quick examples. One is very familiar to you, the LA riots. Now this goes back to 1992. $1 billion worth of property was destroyed in 10 days in Los Angeles. What did that tell our community? What did that teach us about our community? Who was the spokespeople out there? I actually spoke to a couple of them out in LA when I was out there. You know who it was? It was somebody who could speak English. There was no Korean American organization. There were no set Korean American leaders who could say, our community here is not getting the services and the protection that we deserve. We're burning down. Where did all the police protection go and the National Guard? They went elsewhere. They didn't come to our community. Obviously, one of the biggest moments in Korean American history that we have to reflect and say, how do we solve that? That's, just quick story number one about why we need a national organization to represent us. That will also produce national leaders. Second one, and this literally happened just yesterday. You all remember when that Asiana Airlines plane crashed in San Francisco? Killing, ended up killing 3 people. But the TV station, the news station, broadcast the names of the pilots who were involved in that crash. Does anybody remember, don't say it if you remember, what those names were? It was racist prank names that somehow got on KTVU's news broadcast and was put on YouTube, seen 12 million times. We were the laughingstock of this entire country, and still continue to be, because actually a couple of folks emailed me and said, guess what? There's some pictures on Facebook of some people dressed up for Halloween that were dressed up as Asiana Airlines pilots with those names on their shoulders. That's how they made fun of us and a tragedy that killed 3 people. So, KTVU, San Francisco, which has a pretty substantial Asian American community, they paid. 3 other senior staff were fired for that incident. But some of us in Washington, part of the CKA network, were like, what about NTSB? National Transportation Safety Board. There was an intern there, believe it or not, who confirmed for that TV station the names of those pilots. Is there any accountability for a government agency that's supposed to serve us? So weeks ago, we sent a letter. We worked with another Asian Pacific Advocates organization to send a letter and said, we need a meeting with the chairman of the NTSB. We just had that meeting yesterday. And so sat right next to Chairman Deborah Hersman of the NTSB, and she apologized. She apologized very sincerely, we thought, and told us exactly what steps they took to ensure that something like that would never happen again. And we worked with the Japanese American Citizens League, OCA, Asian Pacific American Advocates, and the local Korean American Bar Association of DC to have that meeting. So this is just another reason, because we know, all of us in this room know, if that had happened to another ethnic group, another racial group, they would be protesting in front of NTSB, wouldn't they? Until they were heard. At the very least, what we're able to do is say, we're paying attention, and this kind of thing cannot be slipped under the rug on our watch. Last example. This is a personal one that comes from my time on the Boston City Council. I was a city councilor in Boston for 4 years, 2006 to 2010. And one of my great supporters were the Dry Cleaning Association, which many of you know. Dry cleaners in the U.S., about 40% of them are owned by Korean Americans. Most of them are mom and pop kind of operations. I had learned that the International Trade Commission was going to impose a tax, a tariff, on wire hangers. Because many Chinese manufacturers, they claimed, were dumping cheap wire hangers in the U.S. And there was one factory in America, that employed about 20 or 30 employees that made domestic wire hangers. And so therefore, they felt they needed to protect that one factory and put this tariff under. Meanwhile, there are about 30,000 Korean American dry cleaners in this country, and a total of maybe 50 or so thousand, total. But what they were telling me is, all that's going to do is just take money out of our pockets, thousands of dollars a year. That's thousands of dollars of income that they're just going to take away by slapping that tariff on wire hangers. So the ITC in Washington, D.C. was going to have one final hearing before they decide on that. So as a Boston city councilor, I was asked, and I worked with all these cleaning associations all around the country to organize and come and make sure that the International Trade Commission recognizes that we are Americans. We're Americans. And so as an elected official, I get to speak first, so I went up and looked right at their faces and said, the folks behind me who have come here want to let you know that they pay taxes, they live and work in our communities, They're working to send their kids to college. They're good community citizens, and the decision that you make is going to impact them as Americans. So think about that. And I just got this sense, though, that they're, the lawyers from the Chinese companies over on this side, the lawyers for that, factory on this side, they're thinking, China, those Koreans in the back, what's the difference? I really got that feeling. So the message had to be clear from them that we are Americans. And we just heard some stories where, especially Christina, that was touching. I mean, how does a principal of a school say, even though you have the best grades, because you don't represent our community, you can't be the valedictorian? All of us have experienced that at in this country. The reason we set up CKA, again, is so that we can give voice to all of you, and then we can raise leaders and develop leaders by giving them opportunities to lead and speak out when our community needs that voice. And so I would ask all of you, I came down here because I wanted to, when the Consul General Kim said, we're doing this event, I think that's excellent. I think it's something that really helps the community here. I really hope to come back at some point and work with some of you as my friends here to tell you more about how specifically you can work with us, as well as you're going to hear a lot of other organizations, KAC, with my friend James, and there are others that are all of us working to make sure that our voice does not go under, exactly what the Consul General said. That's how democracy works here. That's how we can better ourselves, we can better our families and our country. And I think that's why we're all gathered here, so we can strengthen that voice. Thank you very much.
I know everyone's kind of up and about right now, and I want to play a quick icebreaker game. But that kind of
So thank you very much for having me here with you this evening. As Tim said, my name is JOBKOREANEWS. I'm the Director of American Jewish Committee. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Consul General Kim for inviting me here tonight. It's actually a tremendous opportunity, and I feel very honored to be here with you tonight, not just because we're all in the same demographic, but one of my mentors in the Jewish community said the first and most important aspect of leadership is showing up. And you being here tonight really helps achieve that. It shows that you are invested and committed to the future of the Korean American future. And so I had these remarks written, but after hearing Sam speak and our previous speakers, I kind of wanted to tear them all up because I really felt that they weren't necessarily relevant. And when I think about the connection, I mean, why would somebody from the Jewish community be up here with you tonight? I mean, there's not that much that we have in common, is there? I mean, I think about it. I mean, the Jewish community, primarily based in Eastern Europe, perhaps in Africa a little bit, not so much in Asia. But, when we started to think about it, first off, in Atlanta, actually, our community sizes are actually very similar. So I've heard today a lot that there's about 100,000 Koreans in Atlanta. There's about 120,000 Jews in the metro Atlanta area. Worldwide, I'm definitely not even going to go and compare. Does anybody know how many Jews there are in the world today, by the way? Anyone? Want to guess? No, nobody has any idea. Nothing? How much? I heard 10 million. Right? Anyone else? 10 million? 6 million? That's a little bit. There's only about 13 million Jews in the world. About 6.5 million are in the United States, about 6.5 million are, give or take, or a few, are based in Israel. And then there's Jews in the diaspora, in Jewish communities around the world, in cities around the world. And my role in the American Jewish community, our focus is very much on two areas. One on intergroup relations, and the other side on governmental affairs. And the reason that I work for the organization that I do, the reason that the Jewish community is structured in the way that we are is through the history of the Jewish community, through 2,000 years serving as a diaspora community, we've learned a lot of lessons. But the one thing that we've learned most is that there's a lot of misconceptions about the Jewish community and what that is and what that means to be. And the work that we do in American Jewish Community is very much reaching out to the other communities in all of the areas where we are located. We have 25 offices in the US, 10 offices overseas, and partnerships with Jewish communities around the world. And so our role is very much in dispelling those stereotypes, because we understand what it is to be a minority community. We understand what it is to be discriminated against. And all too often we find that the communities within which we live, there's a lot of misconception. So I know from the Jewish community that there's a lot of people who don't understand the Jewish community, but I also understand that people in the Jewish community don't necessarily understand what it is to have a connection with the Asian community, with the Korean community. And so part of the work that we do is trying to create those relationships and those connection points between our two communities. So seeing all of you here today makes me think about one of the aspects of my organization. It's a young professionals group called Access. And Access was started over 25 years ago in Atlanta and has now been adopted globally by my organization because the leadership in the Jewish community at the time felt that they needed a place for the young leaders in the Jewish community to go. We kind of lacked that direction. The Jewish community is an alphabet soup. As Sam was talking, as I was sitting at the table kind of learning about so far I've heard of KASF, I've heard of CKA, I've heard of KAC. I think I'm going to start getting confused. In the Jewish community, there is AJC, ADL, APAC, JFNCS, JNF, there's J Street, you pretty much name it, and if you take any a minimum of 3 letters together, you can develop a Jewish organization out of it. And that's one of the challenges that we have. We're a hyper-organized community, but being a hyper-organized community also has its benefits. We all kind of have our place. We understand what it is to work together. We also understand where we play well together and areas where we all have our expertise. So myself, for AJC, our focus very much is on diplomacy. We feel that it's very important to work behind the scenes to help create relationships and understanding about the Jewish community. There's another organization called ADL. They're kind of like our defense department. There's what we call the Jewish Federation, or JFNA. That's another one, JFNA. JFNA focuses on very much the welfare of the Jewish community as a whole. JNF is an environmental organization. APAC and J Street are very much political organizations. Each of these organizations has a place where they fit into the larger community. And recognizing that, that's a concept that has truly developed over 2,000 years. I mean, as you think about it, the Jewish community was set in diaspora over 2,000 years ago, as I mentioned. And we had to find a way to work together. And we understood that there were different priorities within the Jewish community, but that there were also priorities in how we fit into the larger community. And as our history evolved, and as civilization evolved, the Jewish community has kind of ebbed and flowed in terms of how we fit within the greater community. So Sam spoke about the representation within the political sphere. So we've been very fortunate in the United States, at least, that our representation in the political sphere is actually very strong. We're overrepresented. We're overrepresented in the Supreme Court. We're overrepresented in the halls of Congress. We're overrepresented in the state legislature, although in Georgia, there's only about 5 state representatives. So it doesn't make me feel any better. It's just we've kind of been, our role is kind of becoming is shrinking. And that poses new challenges to us as a Jewish community. But what I see it as is very much the similarities are the challenges that it poses. And I feel like I can give the same speech and speak, I would never say this, I don't speak on behalf of the Korean American community, but I feel like what I'm saying can very much be, somebody can stand up here and say exactly what I'm saying, and you have the same challenges, but yet the same opportunities that we have as a Jewish community. So the priority on education, the immigrant experience, discrimination in at both home and in the workplace, the establishment of a network, and the importance, again, of, well, we can go back to the Pew Research Forum. And so we're very fortunate as a Jewish community to have identified the areas that we need to focus on in order to develop ourselves. As a Jewish community, and focusing specifically on the next generation, is where I feel very honored. As a truly a member of our demographic, and I am a member of our demographic, I have the opportunity to work with the leadership in the Jewish community that is from their 20s to their 80s. And to see the effort and the focus that they place on the priority of encouraging people. Now, it's not just about philanthropy, although that is very important to me and members of the Jewish community, but it's also very much in engaging and mentoring. So every step along the way in the Jewish community, I would like to think that, I know definitely in my organization, we focus on creating opportunities for the young leaders to engage with the more mature leaders, those that have been around for a much longer period of time. And it's not just those that are first, and it connects with those that are first generation immigrants and second generation immigrants, but it's taking advantage of the opportunities and the experiences. I know that I'm actually a second generation. My grandparents were immigrants. And we're hearing their stories and what they had to go through and the struggles that they had to deal with while they were moving from Russia, from Poland, into Georgia, into New York, or things that I think about on a daily basis. And I've seen the way the Jewish community has evolved, where we started all as an immigrant and we've kind of moved into these various communities, into various areas around the United States. And the focus on the Jewish community and the Jewish American experience is something that's been a continuous challenge for us. Because we were very tight-knit in the beginning, and then we kind of evolved and became more assimilated within the community. And now I'm seeing, especially amongst my generation, amongst our generation, kind of a return to Jewish, I don't want to call it Jewish values, but to the Jewish community. People want to identify more. As the Jewish American community marries, and marriage is very important, but there's a growing piece of the community that's intermarried. So there's a lot of Jews that are marrying non-Jews. But the importance within the Jewish community of pushing forward and promulgating this idea of Jewish culture, regardless of your level of religiousness, is something that's very important, and something that we're seeing more and more and more. And so when I think about what the future holds for us as a community, that is kind of the piece that I hold on to. I think to myself, well, if my friends are marrying people that are not Jewish, are they going to instill in them the Jewish values? And I see that they are, and that's what gives me hope. That's one of the reasons why I get to stand up here today, is that for knowing that in the future, I don't ever expect, unfortunately, I know that discrimination is going to take place. But the work that I can do today to help prevent that in the future is something that I feel very strongly about. And encouraging my friends and my family to participate in that aspect is something that I feel is only going to help us in the future. And it's not just going to help the Jewish community, but it's going to help the Korean community as well. As people understand more and more what our differences are, but also our similarities, they will get a better understanding, and you'll see much more of the greater representation that we all hope for. And when I think about how we can move forward, I take a lot of I think a lot about how the Jewish community has evolved, not just in the United States, but around the world. And I see a future of hope and a promise that everybody will be able to take lessons together and be able to move forward. And so I truly do feel honored and privileged to be with you here tonight. Because to me, this is very much a first step on the Jewish community side to engage in a much stronger way with the Asian community and with the Korean community specifically. And when I was speaking to Sam, he said, "Oh, AJC, that's great. Yeah, with your colleagues in San Francisco and with your colleagues in DC." And that's something that I want to help be able to connect with. I want our communities to become much stronger, not just here in Atlanta, but in New York and in Dallas and in Chicago and in Jerusalem and in Asia and wherever else we can to connect with each other, because we have similar experiences that we have to be able to connect with in order to help our communities grow together. So I think I talked a little bit about engaging young leadership in the Jewish community, but I really feel much more that my ability to be here with you tonight is what's not just about engaging the Jewish community, but engaging the young leadership in the future of the United States and in the state of Georgia specifically, and even more so in the city of Atlanta. So I do look forward to many opportunities in the future for us to be together. And as I said, I had to prepare remarks, and I really, after hearing these, really what I find inspiring remarks by the speakers before me, I felt that I had to say something that was a little bit more sincere than the words that I had written down. Because I truly believe this. I truly believe that our work together, the young leaders, the work that we put into it as people of our demographic, we are the ones who are truly going to be able to make a difference. And we might not see it today, and that's the key to advocacy. Advocacy, you don't necessarily see it change today. In advocacy, it might take 20 years to see the results. But you know you're putting in the effort today. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to many opportunities like this in the future. Thanks.
Because I have so many Jewish friends. Moving on, I have another friend here tonight. It's Assistant Principal Jennifer Barrow from Grayson High School, part of the Gwinnett County Public School System. She's going to say a few remarks as well. Jennifer?
Good evening. Greetings, Counselor General Kim and friends. My name is Jennifer Barrow, and if you're wondering why a single Korean woman has a German last name, I'll get to that later. So pay attention, class. I've lived in Atlanta for 6 years and attended a Korean church for 3. Much of the time I felt like an undercover agent because although I am Korean, until I graduated from college and traveled to Korea to teach English, I had never spoken to another Korean. As an adoptee in a Korean church, I was able to make many anthropological observations, which I'll share with you now. Number 1, Koreans congregate in groups. Number 2, Koreans loiter, waiting around in a group to decide where the group is going next. Number 3, Koreans, as I've also witnessed here tonight, don't eat, they feast. Number 4, Koreans delight in their children more than any other subgroup than this pop anthropologist has ever seen. And lastly, number 5, I'm sure there's more, but we don't have time. Koreans create a Korean bubble for themselves, only surrounding themselves with other Koreans. Now, please understand, I was a small group leader at my church. I have many friends in the Korean community and feel a filial peace when I am among my Korean friends. As a leader in the community, a 2013 graduate of the Leadership Gwinnett and Gwinnett County Public Schools Leader Academy, I fear for the next generation of Koreans. We have been given every privilege and opportunity our parents sacrificed and forfeited on our behalf. With great privilege comes great responsibility. We must lead our friends and family out of the bubble. It is an economic imperative. If our children or future children do not learn to befriend and work with others unlike themselves, they will have an economic disadvantage in this global economy. We owe it to our children to model civic duty. We have demonstrated excellence in academics and family integrity in so many ways, as evidenced by Sam with the Pew Research. But who are we if we don't show others the way? Our parents' generation believed to keep to their own business and ensure success for their family. We are the generation to share that success by leading others. I ask you, did you vote? Do you serve on a board? Are you in a leadership position at work? Do you know who your community leaders are? Are you becoming one? We have so much work to do. As a Korean adoptee, someone who balances between two cultures, the one from which I was reared and the one that matches my face, I believe our generation can maintain our strong cultural values while serving others until we have more Korean faces in leadership positions, more Korean faces in every leadership position. There are 100,000 Koreans in the metropolitan Atlanta area, and most of them live in Gwinnett. I am the only Korean administrator among 700 in Gwinnett County Public Schools. So Teacher of the Year, help me out, girl. We will always live on the margin and be the subject of oppression until we rise to leadership. Do not be afraid to branch out into a white or multiracial Rotary Club, leadership team, or community group. We do not have a glass ceiling problem. We have a bubble problem. Help me pop it. Thank you.
Last but not least, we have one of our distinguished guests, Joe Manguno, former Asian Wall Street Journal Seoul Bureau Chief, and also recently with the CDC's National Healthy Workplace Communications Program. He was a communications director over there. His topic today is actually changed from the program. It is now Heritage, Pride, and Cultural Connections. Please welcome to the stage, Joe Manguno.
Thank you very much, Consul General Kim, for inviting me tonight, and all of you for being here. I have a slightly different message, I think, from the rest of you tonight. It's much more concerned with looking backward at your heritage. I want to talk specifically about the importance of heritage, pride, and cultural connections. I'm currently a teacher at Kennesaw State University's communications department, as well as working for CDC. But since I'm actually a journalist by training and instinct, my natural forte is as a storyteller. So rather than bore you with a professorial lecture about Korea, I will share with you 3 short anecdotes that I hope will drive home my point about national pride and cultural connections for a more lasting impression than anything else I could tell you. In 1987, while I was Seoul Bureau Chief for the Wall Street Journal, and I had occasion to interview the governor of the Bank of Korea, Mr. Park Sung-san, about the Korean financial system. At that time, Korea was at odds with the U.S. government over the pace of reforms it wanted to see in the Korean financial system. The U.S. was lecturing Korea daily about what it should be doing to guarantee that its already substantial economic success would continue. By way of introduction to the subject, Governor Park, without looking, reached around behind him to the lateral file cabinet, opened a drawer, again without looking, withdrew a file, opened the file, took out a document and scanned it. He then turned to me and said that it was a confidential white paper that the U.S. government had compiled on the Republic of Korea immediately after the Korean War. This paper, said Mr. Park, concluded after much analysis that, and I quote, "The Korean people are shiftless and lazy and never will amount to much." Think about it. Indeed, in the United States, Korea was widely regarded at that time as a sinkhole of American aid. By the mid-1960s, the GDP of the Republic of Korea was $103, and per capita income was $140. But 15 years later, by the end of the 60s, U.S. foreign policy experts were already talking about a Korean miracle. One of the U.S. foreign policy establishment's premier mouthpieces, Foreign Affairs magazine, called the ROK one of the success stories of, naturally, the U.S. assistance program. It said, quote, "The U.S. has helped pave the way for Korea through economic aid and investment." The ROK had experienced an annual economic growth rate of 7.6% annually from 1962 to 1967 and 13.7% for 1968. By 2010, the Republic of Korea had emerged as #1 among the 4 so-called economic tigers or dragons of Asia, along with Taiwan, Singapore, and Hong Kong. By the end of last year, the IMF calculated ROK per capita income at $30,000 and per capita GDP at $22,589. That's a growth rate of 2,200%, 2,200% from 1963. And the Korean economy had grown into the 16th largest in the world. I know I don't have to tell you about the enormous industrial success of the Republic of Korea in the past half-century as well. I think Hyundai, Samsung, LGE, Samyang, transformed by industrial warriors into world powerhouses, dazzling us all with cars, computer chips, smartphones, televisions, oil tankers and container ships, highways, skyscrapers, and shopping malls at home and abroad. Nor do I have to remind you of the ROK's non-economic successes, from the 1988 Seoul Olympics to the defeat of dictatorship and the institution of democracy, to the impressive achievement of Korean musicians around the world, which we've heard tonight. No other country in the modern world is recognized as having come so far and achieved so much in such a short time. Indeed, just 2 days ago, the Boston-based newspaper, the Christian Science Monitor, published a glowing piece about the ROK entitled, "The Little Dynamo That Sneaked Up on the World." My second story comes from a more intimate series of encounters with a Korean JOBKOREANEWS executive in the mid to late 1980s. I had befriended Mr. Lee, president of Lucky Lodestar International, and cultivated him as a source. We would have lunch every couple of months to discuss the Korean economy and industrial development. He continued to humor me with lunch each time I asked. He said, because we had the same birth date, July 13th, he believed that was an auspicious sign. One day, at our usual lunch, he suddenly said, very politely, Mr. Manguno, you're a very unpatriotic young man. I was duly shocked at this and asked him, just as politely, why he would conclude such a thing. He paused, lowered his voice, and said, the way you openly criticize your American government tells me you're very unpatriotic. I responded to Mr. Lee with a very quick comeback, assuring him that I was very patriotic, and asking again why he said that I was not. Because, he said, being American is not the most important thing in your life. That's very true, I said. My country ranks about fourth in importance in my life. There are, in my worldview, things that are more important than being American, such as family, friends, and personal values. After all, I went on to reason, nationality is an accident of birth, not something you achieve by your own effort. Mr. Lee paused again, this time for several minutes, and replied, and I quote again, Mr. Manguno, to a Korean, nothing is more important than being Korean. I was shocked. I had lived in Korea for nearly 2 years, and while I had certainly noticed the extraordinary nationalism of Koreans, I somehow never expected a prominent Korean executive to probably acknowledge that fact. But I never have forgotten that lunch. And 8 years later, I had occasion to consider again that conversation with Mr. Lee, leading me to my third anecdote. In 1986, I took my parents to visit Sicily. Being third-generation Americans, they had never seen nor expected to see the land of their heritage. The 2-week visit was a wild adventure, to be sure, but it had very deep emotional significance to them and to me, and was a major eye-opener for me, my wife, and my 2 sons. Being American, and one stick of butter in the huge melting pot that is America, I had never given much thought to my Sicilian heritage, nor to the other pieces of my DNA, some Irish, a bit of German, a dash of Spanish, and even a sliver of Mexican. I'd grown up taking for granted that everyone was eating pasta and meatballs at home, attending Mass, playing bocce ball on holidays, and seeing and hearing the great musical and artistic works of Italy on a regular basis. And as I grew into my teens and early 20s, I even became rather embarrassed about being Italian, or worse, Sicilian by heritage. You see, Sicilians also had a reputation for being either lazy and shiftless or involved in organized crime. So I played down that part of my heritage and played up the Irish part. After my first visit to Italy in 1983, it finally dawned on me that I was missing a huge part of my natural life. The culture, including food, music, art, and literature that made me, to a larger degree than I had wanted to acknowledge who I was. My visit to Sicily, to the graves of my ancestors and the land they formed for a hardscrabble existence after years of domination by superpowers, much like Korea, had a deeply significant impact on me. My struggle to make myself understood in Italy also made me resentful of my grandparents and great-grandparents, who had refused to teach my parents or my generation any of the Italian language. At that time, the widespread belief of most immigrant families, and all Americans were and are immigrant families, though some of us very often forget that, was that when they immigrated, they should leave the old world behind and fully embrace the new, and leave behind its language for English. The lesson for me in this voyage of self-discovery was to re-examine and embrace my Italian, Sicilian heritage. There is much to be enormously proud of, and much rich history to draw from the Roman Empire to the Renaissance, art, music, architecture, and of course food. Let's not forget Italian food. So my message to you, unsurprising by now, is that you should embrace your Korean heritage with both arms. There is much to be enormously proud of, and much rich history to draw from in building successful lives for yourselves here in America or back home in the ROK, should you return to your roots someday. Thank you.
Go on, Alex, Sarah. We prepared this 4-minute song. You know, we'll see how it sounds. Please bear with us. Thanks.
아무리 기다려도 난 못 가 바보처럼 울고 있는 나의 곁에 상처만 주는 나를 왜 모르고 기다리니 떠나간 말야. 보고 싶다 이런 내가 미워질 만큼 울고 싶다. 내게 무릎 꿇고 모두 어떤 일이 될 수 있다면 미칠 듯 사랑했던 기억이 추억들이 너를 찾고 있지만 더 이상 사랑이란 변명에 너를 가둘 순 없어. 이러면 안 되지만 죽을 만큼 보고 싶다. 보고 싶다. 보고 싶다. 이런 내가 미워질 만큼 믿고 싶다. 니는 우리하고 너를 위해 떠나야만 한다고. 미칠 듯 사랑했던 기억이
Sunday evenings or Saturday evenings at 노래방. Since it's always kind of difficult to get everyone in one room together, and I know that we're almost close to our time, but we all are very curious about how we can get involved in the different organizations. So we've asked the representatives of each respective organization to take a very, very quick summary of what's been going on. You have exactly 1 minute. I have a timer on my phone. This is a phone, not if you can watch yourself, and I will cut you off. We're going to go in alphabetical order. ALAC, Sarah Hamilton, please. Sarah Hamilton. You can talk about ALAC. Sorry. I'll start the timer when you come up to stage. Peter, if you can get ready for CPACs, you'll be next.
Do you want me to come up there?
Yeah, if you can come up. Unless you can give the mic to somebody.
Hey everyone, it's me again. How are you? Wasn't Alex Shin great? He's so awesome. ALAC, I'm a board member of ALAC. It stands for, does anyone know? Wow, that's great. Yeah, Asian American Legal Advocacy Center. It's the first center of its kind in the entire southeastern United States. It's still the only center of its kind. And basically, we are a nonprofit. We focus on civic engagement for the Asian American community. And this is a very important part, we feel, of kind of developing the community in the United States. So we do all sorts of things. We're focused mostly on getting people registered to vote, helping citizens become, or helping newly arrived people from Asia become citizens, to posting forums for candidates and really getting on the issues. We advocate for certain bills and certain things in the state legislature that are friendly for Asian American businesses and also things that affect the Asian Americans in our community. So if you don't know about our group, we encourage you to get involved. We have a website, and we also do all sorts of events all the time for fundraising and other things. I've made some incredible friends there, and I just think it's a great organization, so I hope everyone will remember ALAC. Thank you.
Peter Yang from CPACs and Joe Yi from Elko. Please get ready.
Oh, it works. All right, hey everybody, I'm Peter Yang. I'm a program coordinator at CPACs, which stands for the Center for Pan-Asian Community Services. It's an organization that's been around since around 1980, and it started off very small, geared primarily towards the Korean American, actually the Atlantic Korean population. And since then, it's expanded actually to have a huge array of services that are provided, from just general social services like Medicaid, food stamps, DUI, to like more recent additions like the Affordable Care Act, which I'm kind of currently coordinating at the moment. So it's a great organization that has expanded to serve actually not just Atlanta, but pretty much the entire Southeast region. We have become a huge hub to assist the Southeast Asian American population and pretty much anybody that comes to our doors as well. So please check out our website. It's icpacs.org, icpacs.org, and come out to our events. Thank you very much.
Joe Yi from Alka and Alina Lee from Kava. If you guys get ready.
Hey guys, I was going to share a little rock and roll, but I only have 1 minute, so I'm going to pass on the rock and roll and tell you a little bit about ELCA. That stands for Economic Leaders Council of Korean Americans. And what we are is a multi-generation of Korean Americans that is out to do economic and political good. So far this year, we've had a fundraiser where a lot of us, we know BJ Pak, the Korean councilman, but very few of us know David Schaefer, who represents 40,000 Korean Americans in his district. So we had a fundraiser to meet those guys so that we could put a little imprint of our Korean American community into David Schaefer. And then on Monday, our group has been invited to the governor's mansion, and he's going to host a reception for us Korean people. These are pretty significant events that we're working on, and we have a full plate next year of good things that we do. So any organization is not defined by its mission statement. It's defined by the works we do. And next year, we're going to do some exciting things. So if you all want to find out more about ELCA, please come see me. Tell me your contact information, and I'll let you know a little bit about what we're going to accomplish in 2014. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here tonight. Such a great crowd. Sarah, Alex, and I are really glad to be here tonight on behalf of the Korean American Bar Association. Let's see how many attorneys are here tonight. If you're an attorney, can you please just stand up for a moment, just very briefly? Yes. Okay, all of you, please pay your Korean American Bar Association dues because we have some really awesome programming this year. We have golf lessons and we've got our happy hours. By the way, shout out, next Wednesday at Gordon Biersch in Midtown, 7 p.m., free drinks and food. We are active, we're involved, and we just want to collaborate with other organizations. We're fun, but we're also smart. We care deeply about the Korean American bar, the Korean community. And please let Sarah, Alex, I, or any of the attorneys here know how we can help. We're going to leave our business cards out front by the registration table. You know, if you need a referral, let us know. If you need anything else, also let us know. We really care about the Korean community, as I said, and we're just so glad to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Koreans cannot get away from our peace signs. James Green from KAC and Jennifer Farrow with time to get ready.
I'm not going to do any peace signs up here. I'm here for Korean American Coalition, the Atlanta chapter, which is part of a national organization that just celebrated its 20th anniversary, started out in LA for civic and community service and networking. Locally, we do regular social events, happy hours and dinner events, and we also do a lot of volunteer work. We work with a lot of area community organizations like CPAC, Trees Atlanta, MedShare. We're pretty open. Everyone is welcome to come to any of our events. Our next major event will be our holiday potluck on December 7th, I believe, whatever the Saturday is. And we're also doing a toy drive there for Toys for Tots. So come out, bring some food, bring a toy, and we can be found on the web at www.kacatl.org.
By the way, Jennifer, happy birthday. I know it was your birthday.
My first 39th. Thank you very much. Oops, I just told my age. I don't know, like
You mean like the 10th, 39th.
Korean American Adoptive Network, KAN, which is reached at www.kaanet.org. Their mission is to improve the lives of Korean-born adoptees by connecting the community and providing opportunities for dialogue, education, and support. We're so grateful for the Councilor General Kim for supporting our conference that was in Atlanta in 2011, and we continue to work with South Korean government and regional consulates for their support. This year, the conference is in Minnesota. It is in June 27th through 29th, and registration opens in January. It's really a great community. I have attended 4 years in a row, and it's for Korean adoptees, it's for Korean born cultural Koreans, and also adoptive parents. So what's so powerful is you see young kids who are maybe 9 years old, adopted with white parents, but they get to have mentors there. So very much young professionals that are Korean to go and mentor the young kids is so powerful for them. Thank you so much.
Great students in collaboration lab.
Hi everyone, sorry I'm getting over a cold, but I'm Grace Shin, Executive Director of Collaboration Atlanta, and we primarily focus on
promoting the performing arts for Asian Americans. We basically focus on three main pillars of thought. First is cultivating Asian American artists around Atlanta. Secondly, trying to build and connect communities. So we do a lot of partnerships with local organizations such as ALAC and CPACs and NAP. And then thirdly, just trying to inspire our youth. It really was inspiring to hear Yumi's story, really just pursuing your passions within the performing arts and really just letting our youth know that it's okay as an Asian American to pursue the arts and not necessarily go down what you consider a typical path. And so we just try to provide resources and performing opportunities for all of our Asian Americans, performers out there. And our main event that's coming up in December is actually going to be a holiday silent auction fundraiser. We are partnering with NAP, CPACs, and ALAC, and we're going to be hosting it December 12th at Monday Night Brewery. And so it should be a really fun, interactive night. We're going to be featuring 2 guest comedians, in addition to some previous collaboration competitors, including spoken word artists, dance crews, and acoustic singers. And then cover will include, of course, 6 beers, and it should be a really, really fun night, in addition to a pretty big silent auction. So if you want to just, get holiday gifts and presents for your significant others or loved ones, it would be a really great opportunity. So we have golf outings and restaurant gift certificates and hotel bookings, and it's really going to be quite an interactive night. So I hope you could all come out. We'll see you there. If you want more information and want to learn more about Collaboration Atlanta, feel free to approach me, or you can learn more at collaborationatlanta.org. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm so happy to be here with you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to introduce Cohen to the Consul General, and especially I would like to introduce Deputy Consul General Mrs. Ryu Dong-yeol, who is the first female Deputy Consul here in Atlanta. Cohen Korean Women International Network is a multi-generational, international, local, regional organization for Korean women, and it was established in 2011 by first-generation immigrant Korean women, and we promote networking and sharing and mentoring between women. So it's specifically designed for Korean women, Korean American women, but we always invite and include male guests as speakers and just to enjoy with us. And we have 3 signature events with Cohen. One is local. We organize a Cohen Atlanta chapter leadership conference. And the other one is regional, which includes 5 other chapters in New York, DC, and Chicago, Dallas, and Houston. And lastly, but not least, one is the Global Korea Cohen Forum in Seoul, in Daejeon last summer. I would invite every Korean American woman in this room to join, and please, I'm really happy to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Kim from KSA, or KSEA, sorry.
Hello everyone. I'm representing Korean American Scientists and Engineers Association. I'm serving as a membership director this year. We are the only, I believe, in America that dedicated to promoting the networking and career path promotion, and then serving the next generation, dedicated in science and technology and engineering and math field. And I don't know how many of you are actually in those fields, but if you have a friend in those fields, please encourage them to join us, because we are growing every year about 15 to 20% now, and we are targeting about over 5,000 members all over America this year. And we have 3 major events going on. In January, we'll have a Young Generation Technical Leadership Conference in Houston, and in March, we'll have something called the Purdue. It's still tentative to change for the final name yet. But basically, what we'll do is to help the assistant professors or researchers at the junior level to get their grant proposals better, and so that they can promote their career path. And that will be in Chicago in March. And we'll have a largest our group events in San Francisco next year in August. It's called US-Korea Conference. So we have a really good opportunity for those of you who are in the STEM field to make a good networking and promote our society, and especially Korean heritage community, to get involved in more of science and technology fields. So please encourage yourself and your friends to join us. Thanks.
Last but not least, Michael Park with National Unification Advisory Council's Next Generation.
Hi everybody. The National Unification Advisory Council is a little different in the sense that we're governed by the South Korean government. We're actually under the Ministry of Unification, and our goal is that we serve as honorary spokesmen on behalf of the Korean government. We basically educate our respective communities on a range of issues, varying from the Chorus FTA, and of course all of this is under the auspices of the peaceful reunification on the Korean Peninsula. As you can see by the great event we have tonight, we're lucky to have the support of the South Korean government. In recent years, they've made a strong effort and a push to really recruit the next generation and younger members. So if it's something that you're interested in, we have annual events, really monthly events, and they take place in the form of educational events, seminars, as well as community service. Again, we're really actively trying to recruit younger members. We're a multi-generational, somewhat bilingual organization, so language may be a bit of a challenge, but don't let it deter you. Everybody's more than welcome. If you have interest in unification, on issues on the Korean Peninsula, or just learning more about things that are happening in South Korea, please feel free to look me up, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
I do want to take one final moment and thank our Deputy Council General, Dr. Yu Bok-yeon, who was instrumental in making tonight happen and is a true advocate for the next generation of Korean Americans. Please welcome her to the stage.
안녕하세요. Good evening. Are you all enjoying tonight's event?
Yes.
Great. I'd like to thank you for joining us here tonight. I am very happy to have the opportunity to meet each and every one of you. In this room, we have so many rising stars with the Korean community of the Southeast. For those of you who may not know me, I was just introduced by dear Yeonhee Kim. I'm Deputy Consul General 공유하기를 of the Korean Consulate in Atlanta. I also have the distinction of being the first female consul to ever serve in the Atlanta Consulate. During my career, I was always first something. I was first female diplomat appointed in Korean Embassy in Paris, and then first political counselor also always in Korean Embassy in Paris. I was first female director for press relations in Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then Atlanta. And since I first came to Atlanta, I have had many opportunities to meet people with the Korean American community here in Georgia and throughout the Southeast. Tonight is the first time I have had the chance to meet so many from our youngest generation of professionals. With all of the wonderful music, poesie, and delicious food available tonight, this has certainly been one of the most entertaining. Before we bring this event to a close, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize my colleagues from the consulate. Consul Minuri, please stand up, in charge of economics and cultural affairs. Consul JOBKOREANEWS, are you here? He's smoking outside. in charge of civil service. Our staff always devoted, harmony, right? Smoking, right? Alamhan, William Chen, Jian Kim, and Ji Han, who made great efforts for the success of this event. She is upstairs. Here, you can look. Hi. And finally, our wonderful, talented, and handsome MC. Please applaud Team Her. Thank you very much. This year marks the second year since the event first began. I know that this event will continue to grow. I would like to keep strong relationships with each of you in the coming years. So please don't hesitate to contact me by email or phone with any suggestions you might have for strengthening our friendship. I look forward to seeing you all again next year. May I count on you? Okay? All right. Thank you very much.